What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? What is it? Shannon Moneybags always knows when to hold them, when to fold them, when to run. So, thank you for tuning into to this week's podcast. So, Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday's discussion, Thursday's Ask Us SP. So, if you have not done so already, please go back and listen to my previous Ask Us SP, where I talked to Kane McGladry. He is the field CISO over at Hyperproof. So it was a really good conversation. It spans the gamut of, we talk about AI, we talk about ethics, we talk about diversity of thought and culture within cybersecurity. We talk about trips to Yakima and snowboarding. Like, it goes full span. So definitely check that one out. Without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So his first article is from darkreading.com, right? Written by Becky Bracken, and it's titled Okta Agent Involved in MGM Resorts Breach Attackers Claim. So what ended up happening here, right? So threat actors behind last week's MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment cyber attacks say they were able to breach MGM systems by cracking into the company's Okta platform, right? So what this does is it's their identity access tool that they use, right? And so the way that they were able to do it is it's social engineering, right? So if any of you have ever been around for a little bit, you'll remember it was Kevin Mitnick, who recently passed on, talked about how, social engineering was kind of the best way to go about doing like hacking, right? He would talk about how if you just looked like you belong somewhere, like you could just get in and get physical access to things and stuff like that. Well, social engineering is still a real thing, right? That people use to access, and that's what they did here, right? So their identity access that they used, it was just a matter of asking questions, right? But it was simple questions to things that could be easily attained about a person, right? So things that could be leaked online easily, right, was all they ever had to do. So it was never a matter of someone had to report to someone in person, which is a better way to do it, right? It's harder for somebody to report in person and like have an ID to say, yeah, this is who I am, right? So that's a lot of what gets done in DoD, right? So for certain things, but that's what happened here, and this is how they were able to get in. So they have some issues here. So the group that was suspected of doing this is Alpha V. Is that what they call themselves? Is that how you say it?
Alpha V. Yep.
Alpha V. I was like, is it Alpha V? Alpha V. And they're out there advertising, saying, "Yep, we got them. We got access to their infrastructure. Just want you to know that, which people in there gambling, they might have a problem with that, right? Like if you know that a hacker's out there getting into these systems, you got your credit card being used all up in the casino and everything, which I don't know if you want to do that anyway, right? Wouldn't you want to bring cold hard cash so you don't have to, get your card stolen, being how that's what we talk about all the time, right? Is hackers going into stuff and stealing nowadays. But I digress. That's a different subject to deal with at a different time. But Okta warned about this, right? And it's their chief security officer, David Bradbury, confirmed the attack on MGM and the social engineering component, right? But he says it was successful because the threat actors were sophisticated enough to deploy their own identity provider and user database into the Okta system, right? So again, he says the human part was simple, which is what we're talking about here, right? They asked very simple questions that didn't require things that were like what do you want to say, more in depth about the person, right? So I can remember there was a point in the military where there would be questions they would ask that just weren't so simple for people to attain, right? It wasn't, hey, what's my mother's maiden name? Just my mother's maiden name, your name, things of that nature. It went a little bit more in depth with that, because you can't always make it to where, like I mentioned earlier, like have an ID or anything like that. That can't always be the case, right? You can't always drive to a different state to verify through, through a service desk or whatever that may be, because MGM has multiple locations, right? It's not just in Vegas, right? I think they're in Mississippi as well. I think they have MGM.
Yeah, they say the international aspect of MGM was breached. So all over the world, I think they have like 20 resorts, and obviously casinos and online betting arm as well.
Right. So like, I mean, you gotta you got to do better with stuff like this, right? Like make it a little bit harder for these people to get in because again, like I mentioned, like the social engineering aspect of this is the easy part, right? It's just a matter of confidence. They talk about the members that are doing this are suspected to be from the UK and the US, and they speak English, right? So like usually if you hear somebody with an accent, right, that might trigger a little bit, right? Not
Yeah,
to say it can't be someone that's working in America, but if you hear an accent, you might be like, all right, let me ask you a different question, right? What's more American than apple pie? You might ask something like that. Something to try to trick them up, right? And if they tell you pierogies or something like that, you might be like, oh, okay, no, I don't want to hear
right.
that. But no, this is something that could have been avoided just by making it a little harder to do the identity authentication. You know what I mean? But this is where we are, right? This is what was easy for the company that Okta provided to them. This was their system that was or their methods that were provided to them for them to do this. So I don't know. They could have done a little bit better, but this is where we are, right? The MGM is hacked. Caesars was also hacked like
Yeah.
this. Right? So it wasn't like it was just MGM. Like they're using the same system, Okta. The same company Okta to do their identity access. So this is what you end up with. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's pretty chaotic. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I always forget to say. We are blowing up this month for some reason. I don't know why, and I don't necessarily care. Like I hope to replicate this throughout, the next few months. But typically, we would get a little bit over 600 downloads a month. We're only midway through the month, and we're already over 1,500. So I don't know where all the traffic's coming from. Like the report shows me the U.S., specifically the East and West Coast. I'm like, okay. Well, I appreciate it, but I don't know what's spurring it. But I like it. So keep it coming. Keep referring this to your friends and all that good stuff, so we can just keep being able to share it with as many people as possible. But back to the story. So, yeah, very chaotic. Like the article, one of the articles I sent you, they're equating it to like Ocean's level of hackery, but it's not that sophisticated on the outside, right? Like in the Ocean's movies, like they dress up as people. I mean, they have these, they're making replicas of the vault and stuff like that before they breach it and break in. Like this was literally a phone call using information they received or that they were able to obtain through LinkedIn or Facebook. I think it was LinkedIn. Um,
I think it was LinkedIn.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was LinkedIn. So you have to be careful what you put out there, but at the same time, the whole purpose of LinkedIn is to share your information, to make connections, right? So there's several things at play here, right? Like there'll be more articles that'll break it down a little bit more, but from this one, it seems though it's as simple as just like we have the information about this person enough where we can make a phone call and impersonate them, which a lot of us have that type of information on LinkedIn because the whole purpose is to share, right? If you lock down your LinkedIn, it serves you no purpose. It's supposed to be public facing. But thing number two, they bring up MFA, which it's a great tool, but it has limitations, right? Like MFA authenticates devices, it doesn't authenticate people. So, like you said, in the military, it's a little bit different. There's a lot less remote work and things of that nature. I know every time we had an issue with credentials, they made us show up to the help desk with our common access card in person, right? Like this is me, this is my picture, here's my what is it? Eddie Pie or whatever, DOD ID number, and then they would verify you. Like, we don't live in that type of world out here in the private sector, right? Like the person they may have been impersonating may not even be a person who's ever on site, right? This could be a person who's providing services from halfway across the country or the globe. So you don't have the ability to show up to authenticate a person. And I don't want to go back to that world anyway, right? Like I like this remote world. So I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do better. But from there, they're able to get more sophisticated, like the CISO from Okta explained, like they're able to do some really crafty things within the network to the point where they're affecting everything from the booking system to slot machines. Like they have pictures of slot machines that are down as well because of this. Like they really crippled MGM, and I think Caesars is still. It's still at the beginning, right? Depending on when you're listening to this, it may be over, but yeah, it's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And they just had DEF CON. in Vegas, right? So that's not also not the greatest of looks. Like they might want to keep these dirty hackers out of their state moving forward. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it had anything to do with them being on site. I think it all was social engineering. And how do you defeat that aside from training, right? I think it all comes down to the individual whom they talk to at the help desk. Probably no longer works at the help desk, or maybe not. Like I don't know. Like it just depends on their level of craftiness, right? And how they're able to obtain just enough information from that person to get deeper into their systems. So definitely a tragedy. We make some jokes like it's not funny, but uh, like people save up, their ducats to eventually get to go to Vegas and have this fun or whatever, and then you get there and you can't do anything potentially. That's terrible.
But I don't know if it's necessarily that the person at the help desk, like the IT help desk, did wrong though, right? Like they were following procedures. It's just that they should have been not the help desk personnel, but the way they were doing the identity verification should have been more robust, or they should have asked for
Right.
something different. Like when you're asking for easy stuff, it's like, man, it's stuff that like everybody's getting hacked all the time right now, right? Like it's information
Right.
that's been out there for yeah, it's information that's been that's been lost out there that I got LifeLock for that doesn't help me now. You know what I mean? So
Right. That's
what it
very true. Yeah, so it could just be being more robust. And so I know we talked about it a few weeks ago, right? Like so the SEC rules and pre-texting and all that stuff's becoming more robust, right? To stop stuff like this from happening in the banking sector. Um, I don't know if gambling establishments fall within that same purview because they are institutions that collect PII and they deal with finances. So I don't know if that is extended to them or if they fall in some kind of gray area where they have their own framework. That's interesting. I would assume they would just fall under a financial institutions framework because that's kind of what they are, but they're also entertainment. So it's kind of like how McDonald's is not a food service company, they're a real estate company, right? Like that gray area. At
I
least
didn't
that's what they were founded. Yeah, like if you watch I think it's called Founders or whatever. Like they weren't established as a restaurant. They're established as real estate. That's what made them different, right? Like because they're franchising these things out to people. They weren't necessarily a burger joint. But I don't know how MGM because it's the same thing with cruises, right? Like cruises that come out of the States, none of them are based in the States, right? They're all uh shells or structures from overseas. So that
know.
way they can, they have their own policies and things of that nature. Pirates,
Yeah,
so to speak.
it's always like some Nordic country or something like that, right? It's out of Norway,
Yeah.
Denmark, somewhere like that. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how they're structured, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that comes out of it, as well as new, if the FBI is involved, then the Department of Justice will get involved. CISA, CISA will get involved. This could be something that comes up during a press conference with the Biden administration, right? Like there may be new rules and regulations coming out because of this because it is impacting thousands of people as we speak. So then now you're in the limelight in a bad way, right? And then these hackers, they didn't get their money, is what they're saying. So they're going to start to give more information out, which is good. Don't pay them, but at the same time, now you have to deal with right the consequences for them being in your system and them leaking things out of spite. So we'll see
So
what comes of that.
even though you say don't pay them, Caesars paid them, did they not?
Did they? I didn't read that part.
I
I
thought
know
I thought I saw.
MGM did not.
Yeah, I know MGM didn't, but I want to say Caesars did.
Oh
But I could,
man.
I could be
So
misremembering
more
that.
more to come, right? Like we have something to follow up follow up on with this one. But definitely check us out at all the websites that go by our name or whatever you did to get here because you're one of our new listeners. So become one of our new subscribers. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can follow me at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Threads, and Twitter. Stay safe, stay secure.